Hello everyone, it is my second demo on Spring Boot REST. My name is Parvesh and I can explain how to work annotations in Spring Boot. Spring Boot REST is simply means Spring Boot REST is simply means RESTful Web Services. RESTful Web RESTful Web Services annotations. Spring Boot REST has given multiple annotations. Spring Boot REST annotation multiple annotations. Use that annotations. I can build REST API. Behind every annotation, some coding is provided. Behind any annotation, behind behind every annotation, some coding will be required. Annotations can be applied at class level, method level, field level, but where to apply depends upon definition. When someone creates an annotation, then they define where to use that one. With every annotation behind the scenes, some code is there, so if you use, then additional code is run for you. So first I can build a pro I can create a class, new class, my controller, finish. In this class I can in this class I can experiment on annotations. So firstly I can write public int add, public int add, int val1 comma int val2, sout system dot out dot println incoming incoming values of val val1 is val1 plus val2 is val2. You can also use pipes, so it is easily understanding by any developer. Can simply return a method public int add num, in which I can add two numbers, int sum val1 plus val2, system dot out dot println sum is return sum. So first annotation which we can use First annotation which can be used is at the rate rest controller. It can be used on rest controller can be used on the top of class level. Rest controller is used on the top of a class level. It is the beginning point. It can show errors. So okay, I can import this package. Okay, this error is removed. At the rate rest controller is the beginning point of the spring boot application. It automatically detects that this is a spring boot application. And public int at that I can use post mapping. Post mapping is used to map my ctrl. Add now is my help. So I can simply save it. I can simply save it, and first time I can run this application, so I can knowing that which error show or not clean spring boot run. Okay, takes some time. Errors possible period compilation failure suppose it show an error. So I can see I can see that this type of error can okay. I can import post mapping framework. It is the main error which cannot focus. Okay, control plus save, and I can rerun this file. I think it is run simply no clean spring boot run. I can build an API which can test with the help of Postman. Okay, the full to see the full stack trace of errors, rerun Maven build. So I can open Postman to call this API. Okay, I can copy this, open Spring Boot Plus, can duplicate it, duplicate, change the name, add to number, host. It is the HTTP verbs which can I can simply copy paste, copy paste, add now my controller, add now my my controller add num and send it connected within console. Something wrong. So okay, I can use another annotations. Request params, request param, as it is I can write, as it is I can write in place request param control plus shift plus o for implemented import the packages which cannot import. It is shortcut control plus save and call it again. Uh, question mark val1 equal to 20 and val2 equal to 10. Okay, we will console which type of error. Send again. Okay, 404 not found, error not found. Request params body row. Okay, JSON. Again it can show errors, so I can go to my IDE and check it. Okay, it is add, so I can use in that place also add and send. So output is 30, and if we go on console, you can see it val is 20, val 2 is 10, then sum is 30. So request param is generally mapping the values in the URI of URL. This is the URI of URL. If we pass, if you pass that request para post mapping, and let's say I can return another example, control plus C, which can understand better. Add num3. In this you can add three values at the rate request, at the rate request param int val3 plus val3 is val3 and leave it 3. If we call this a okay, firstly you can save it, save, then and you can change in a URI, add 3. Okay, API I can check the name of add 3, add 3. Okay, send, so it can run properly. So okay, I can post mapping. If you use post mapping, then in Postman also use the HTML verbs of same type. Post various type of verbs in various type of verbs in various types of HTML verb or method like post, put, patch, delete, get. Post means put, and patch means if you can change in your code, then you can use put or patch. If you can delete someone, you can delete. If you get repeat read operations, then you can use get. And if you perform additional actions, then we can use post. Make sure that mapping and the HTML verb should be same. Request params add. And one another annotations which can be used is request mapping. In this mapping, you can simply use the common one. So I can delete it, and I can also delete. So we cannot write again and again. Can simply return in outside class request mapping, and then again I can run this. It can be fine. It can be fine. Okay, so this is the annotations which can these all annotations which can write these annotations. Web APIs, those API which can follow those API which can follow REST standard, which can those APIs which can follow REST standards. REST standards called REST API. Other than this, it is not REST API. Cannot call this REST API. What are REST API? Basic concept of REST API is code your project by identifying resources. Build your functional logic around resources. Then you can say that it is REST API. Previously, I can run it is not a REST API. It is a variation of JSON RPC remote procedure control, remote procedure call. These are not to follow REST standards. REST standards का basic concept is code your project by identifying resources. Code your project by identifying resources and build your functional logic around resources. Around resources creation. So let us an example of an employee, which is employee, which is a resource, is a I can write a functional logic written on top of resource employee. Operation of CRUD. Observation is REST says uniquely identify the resource, and on the basis of resource you can perform each operation. So in create resource, firstly, for making REST APIs, we can apply CRUD operation on that. CRUD operation on that create first is create resource. First is create resource, in which request is you pass data and response is ID. Read resources is get resource details. request ID, response data, update resource, delete resource. Source, how we can same thing on PayPal order, how we can same thing on PayPal integration system, or create order, show order, update order, delete order, some endpoints but different logic. So it simply means, for example, let's say V2 checkout orders, it is an endpoint of create order, and other one is show order, it endpoint is V2 checkout, V2 checkout orders ID, and the same endpoint is used for same endpoint is used for update and delete. So main question is how to differentiate differentiate same endpoints but different logic in your write code, for read, for update, for delete. So how can you rest is saying using HTML methods, post, put, patch, delete, get, you can differentiate it. If you can, if you want to create an order, pass the input request as post. If you want to read the data, then you can, if you then then you use get. REST standard says for getting the data, the ID required to be mandatory passed in the URL itself, not in a JSON structure. In this case, in the case of put and patch, put means entire data should be modified, patch means say some data should be modified, delete means you can delete some operations. REST is not allowing free to whatever method you want, want, whatever you write, whatever you want to. Anything deviation in REST standards means you are not follow REST standards. You can simply makes an API of variation JSON RCP. After CRUD operation, if you want to more action on the resources, requirement is employee ID, then you can use it. Okay, I can back to my code. If you can, okay, if you can add this, if you can pass values in a JSON body, then you can use request body in that place. Then you can, then you can make a class in Pojo section, new class, add request, and in this request you can simply write to private int num1, private int num2, and simply make getter and setter methods. So I can go to source, generate getter and setter methods, select all, generate, and also generate a toString method for displaying the contents of num1 and num2. Yes, created. Save it, add request, and come back to my my come back to my controller, and in this controller I can use request body annotation request body to pass the data in a JSON folder, and in that place you can simply write the object. You can simply write the object of request incoming values of num1 and num2 incoming values, so it can also cut it incoming values of val1 and val2 is num1 and num2 value is request. It is the object of add request class. It is the control plus shift plus o for managing, and I can cut this class also. Its method it is not used. Control plus save. Val1 val2 it is not. Okay, this line is also changed. Request dot get num plus request dot get num2. Okay, request get num and get num2. Control plus shift plus o, it can settle down, and then I can call in using postman. In postman params, okay, I can use params for request param, and then I can use request body, so I cannot pass data in that way. My controller add, I can check it. My controller add, okay, this row or JSON structure I can pass data in a structure of key value pairs val1 20 val2 30. Okay, and send. Okay, it can show error, which means some problem in our code. Get num request, I can use request body. Okay, all of is fine. Okay, it can show error, so I can also send again. Okay, 0 means it cannot take values properly. So I can check our method add request some request get num add request. It cannot take, it can map it properly. So this is our demo in which I can perform various annotations at the rate request at the rate request controller at the rate request map at the rate request mapping at the rate re- at the rate request params at the rate host mapping post mapping rest controller request body or request params. It's all about today's demo. Thank you.